This is regarding Head and Heart, a hybrid strategic partnership model. So right now, I'm going to delve in the core premise of modern long-term relationship success. So it's basically falling in love and staying married. They're two different things. Falling in love is easy, and staying married is deliberate and a conscious commitment. Love is essential, but it is not enough to sustain a partnership. We have to face that fact. Through decades of change and difficulty, intentionality demands that we use our head, not just our heart, when choosing a life partner. So the question is, why intentionality matters? Intentionality is about creating a strategic checklist to identify and filter out high-risk partners before emotional attachment fully takes hold. It acts as a shield to protect our future well-being. Ignoring this step exposes you to three major long-term risks. Risk number 1, the financial side. Marrying someone who ignores financial compatibility is like creating a future where you become their sole economic caretaker or are consistently dragged down by their poor choices. Risk 2, labor imbalance. Overlooking behavioral patterns that guarantee you will carry the bulk of the domestic labor, which are chores and the logistics of the relationship, or emotional labor, which is managing their feelings, friends, and family schedule. Risk number 3, it's the autonomy risk. This is the risk where entering a relationship that forces you to shrink your own life, career, or ambition to constantly accommodate your partner's needs or insecurities. So in here, we're not saying that love is not that it's useless, but that it is as insufficient selection criterion for a long-term relationship. So now we have 3 models for choosing a partner. Throughout history, people have followed different blueprints for partnership. And most modern relationships fall between these following 3 models. So we're going to explore the first one. It's the traditional way, with which we can call the external spreadsheet. So the focus of this way is social stability, the lineage, and adherence to rigid roles, which is the male as being the provider and the female as being the homemaker. So the intentionality of this way is that it is managed externally by families and communities. The selection of the couples is based on compliance and status alignment. The result of this way is highly predictable and stable, but often, though in individual emotional fulfillment, due to pressure to conform. The second way for choosing a partner is the modern way, which we can call the emotional spreadsheet. The focus of this way is individual self-fulfillment, personal happiness, and finding a soulmate. The intentionality of this way is driven entirely by internal feelings, chemistry, and vibe. So the result of this way is that it is highly potential for intense happiness, but low in resilience. When the initial emotional rush fades, usually the couple lacks the strategic foundation to navigate conflict and change, so it falls. This is the classic example of the term Cinderella fantasy. Then we have the third way of choosing a partner, which is the strategic way. So it's the combination of both, basically. So the focus of this way is that a partnership as a mutual contract designed to enhance the autonomy and prosperity of both people. The intentionality of this way is that it is a pragmatic calculation of non-negotiable standards, mutual utility, and shared labor equity. The result? The best chance for a fair, resilient, and long-term partnership built on accountability and mutual respect. So they say the recipe for a long-term success in a relationship: do not rely on a single factor, which is neither just pure emotion or pure strategy, but a synthesis of both. And success has two parts in this equation: the selection, which is the head, and the maintenance, which is the heart, the strategic heart side. So the first selection, which has a goal of risk mitigation. The action that can be taken for this is that we must be intentional about who we choose. We need to use objective criteria, which is about finances, like labor equity, values, and communication styles. I will agree with this. To filter out high-risk partners who would become sources of emotional drain or financial liability. The second phase, the second part, which is the heart, the maintenance. So the goal for this is to sustain goodwill and connection in the relationship. So the action that we can take is that we must be intentional about how we relate with our partner, with our future partner, that is. So they say successful couples thrive based on deliberate emotional skills, not just feeling happy, which means intentional kindness, not just having kind feelings, but consciously performing kind acts towards your partner. Turning towards strategically choosing to engage with your partner's small bits for attention. For example, responding when they mention something small rather than ignoring them. With conflict management, successfully navigating conflicts by using repair attempts and maintaining respect, all strategic learned skills that overcome raw negative emotions. So intentionality, in conclusion, is not cold calculation. It is the conscious dedication of effort. First, to select an excellent partner, and then to continually maintain the health and fairness of that said partnership. Okay, moving forward, they say the most successful relationships, based on what we discussed earlier, is that it uses a mix of brains and love. You need to be smart about who you choose, and then be smart about how you act every day. So these things that I will narrate now will address the two main ways relationship fail: with the foundation and the daily wear and tear. So the structural risk, which is the foundation problems, which usually happens in certain relationships. So there are the big fundamental flaws that are nearly impossible to fix after you commit already. So it's like buying a house with a cracked foundation. No matter how much you decorate that house, it is still going to fall apart. So a way for us to check the foundation before we move in is we have to consider 4 of them. So you have the financial philosophy, the division of labor, the core values, and the accountability and conflict style of our prospect partners. So with regards to financial philosophy, you could ask, is this prospect of yours a saver? Or are you planning to marry a spender? Towards division of labor, you can ask, will this prospect partner of yours going to end up doing all the chores and mental planning, or is it going to be you who's going to do all those? With core values, do you guys agree or disagree on the big stuffs? The kids, the career, basic honesty. With regards to accountability and conflict style, when they mess up, when your future prospect partner mess up, will they blame you or will they own it? Will you do the same? So the head first rule is that if you are structurally incompatible, no amount of love can save you. So you have to choose a solid, accountable person first and foremost. Coming up with the dynamic risk, the daily wear and tear problems. So these are the small day-to-day frictions, basically, the mood swings, the minor fights, the stressful days, and the occasional grumpy comments. If you don't manage the small chips and cracks in your relationship, they build up until they ruin the relationship or the marriage. So intentional maintenance is the daily work you do to keep the emotional relationship strong. The key here is that emotional work must be strategic. It's about choosing to be kind even when you don't feel like it. So there are 3 points here to ponder. The 5-to-1 rule. For every one negative thing that happens, a sigh, a criticism, or a small argument, you need at least 5 positive things to balance it out, which can be a compliment, a share, a joke, a hug, a smile, saying thank you. You must constantly be topping up your emotional account. The second one is the strategic look here. This is about paying attention. If your partner says, for example, check out the funny dog outside, the smart choice is to stop what you are doing. Look and engage instead of just grunting and staring at your phone. With this, it will confirm that you still value them, make them feel seen. The third one is prioritizing repair. When you fight, the goal isn't to win or to be right. The goal is to fix the broken connection. This means intentionally choosing to apologize, admit your fault quickly, or use humor to calm things down, even if you're still annoyed. That's hard to do, but you just have to put on work. So the bottom line of this is that the best recipe for long-term happiness, it's quite simple. First, you have to be smart about who you pick. That's the first thing. Just to avoid marrying a huge structural headache. And the last one will be, once you commit already, you have to be intentional about how you treat your partner every day to keep the love and connection alive. Alright, so we have a cheat sheet here for the head and heart strategic partner choosing. So I'm gonna share this with you guys. So before you commit, you have to run these tests to see if your partner is a good co-manager of life. You're not just looking for love here. You're hiring a long-term teammate, basically. So we have the big 4 tests here. We have first, the money test. It's for the financial stability of the relationship. It's quite critical. So what you should do is you should watch their habits. Do they panic or hide debt? Look for generosity. How do they treat service workers? Can they plan? Do they shut down when you try to discuss a big shared future cost? Those sort of things. Number 2, the chore test. So this will be about fairness and labor. So you should ask yourself, do they see things? A great partner notices the trash is full and takes it out without being asked. If you always have to give instructions, you are carrying all the mental load in that relationship. The third one, the future test. This will be regarding your goals and values. So you should ask, how do they handle failure? Do they adapt and learn or blame others? Talk 10 years out. Are your core visions for life regarding career, kids, and location pulling in the same direction? The last test will be the fight test, which is it's very important. It's the accountability of your partner, your prospect partner. So you should ask, can they genuinely say, I'm sorry, I was wrong? You should watch out for fake apologies like, I'm sorry you got offended. Do they pause the fight? Because a good partner stops the argument when it gets too mean. So that was for the heads. That was for the strategic selection. Now, once you were able to commit already, you were compatible in ways within those 4 questions that I mentioned. So we're going to work with the heart already. It's going to be the intentional maintenance. So the 5-to-1 rule I mentioned earlier. Once you have that great partner, you just have to do the daily maintenance to keep the love strong. So the rules are simple for the 5-to-1. For every one bad thing, you need 5 good things. 5 good things. The more the better, right? So, one thing to avoid is withdrawals. These acts that can drain your relationship's emotional energy. You just try to stop them immediately. The criticism, attacking their character. For example, saying you're so selfish for leaving that mess. That's not really good. The contempt, which is the worst one, rolling your eyes, sighing loudly, or insulting them, blaming, saying this is your fault when an issue comes up. And last but not the least, ignoring, stonewalling, getting short with them, or ignoring their attempts to talk. So whenever you do that, which is sometimes inevitable when you're to pick up your emotions and you can't control it, you have to have the 5 deposits. This will be done daily, so you have to keep this in mind. So these are intentional, conscious acts that build emotional connections and trust. You have to choose to do this even when you're tired. So one type of deposit can be, turning towards your partner. Says, for example, that my car is making a weird noise. You stop, you look, and ask intentionally, like, for example, oh no, what kind of noise? It's just, you have to make them feel heard and be genuinely curious. I think that's one recipe for a wonderful partnership, relationship. It's as long as you stay curious about each other. So why it works? It just shows that you instantly show them that they matter more than whatever you are doing at that moment. So another deposit can be showing appreciation. For example, you say, I really appreciate you getting gas. It saves me time and I noticed you did it. So instead of just saying flat thanks. So that's more intentional in marriage. Why it works? You validate their efforts and make them feel seen. The third type of deposit that you can make is admiration. For example, you give them genuine compliment like, I love how patient you were with that difficult person. You handled stress so well. Why this works? You reinforce the qualities you respect and love about them. The fourth one that you can use as a deposit is affection and humor, of course. So for example, you give them a quick kiss, a big tight hug, or just give them an inside joke, a joke text during the day. It's spontaneous one. It will work because these small acts keeps the physical and friendly connection alive and going. So just remember the strategy that we discussed, and don't wait for a feeling of overwhelming love to show kindness. You act kind daily, regularly towards your partner, because the actions you take every day will make that love last.